Marcus Rivera thought he was just taking a 20-minute nap. He woke up 8 hours later to find his entire world crumbling around him. But what happened next would prove that sometimes your worst mistake becomes your greatest miracle. The Grandview Hotel was the kind of place Marcus could never afford to stay in. Marble floors that cost more than his annual salary. Crystal chandeliers worth more than his childhood home. The penthouse suite he was assigned to clean that Tuesday morning had a price tag of $15,000 per night. Marcus had been working double shifts for 3 weeks straight. His daughter Sophia needed surgery, and the medical bills were drowning him. At 52, he'd been cleaning hotel rooms for 18 years, taking pride in his work even when his body screamed for rest. But that morning, exhaustion was winning. Room 4801. The penthouse. Mr. Jonathan Sterling's private suite. Sterling was tech royalty, worth approximately $2.3 billion according to the business magazines Marcus sometimes glimpsed in the hotel lobby. He'd built his empire from nothing, creating software that revolutionized how hospitals managed patient care. The kind of success story that felt like fairy tales to people like Marcus. Sterling had checked out at 6 a.m. for an early flight to Tokyo. The suite wouldn't be occupied for another 2 days. Standard cleaning protocol: deep clean everything, restock supplies, prepare for the next guest. Marcus entered the suite with his cart of cleaning supplies, immediately struck by the view. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the entire city sprawling below. He'd cleaned this suite dozens of times, but the vista never stopped taking his breath away. He started with the bathroom, scrubbing marble surfaces until they gleamed. Then the living area, vacuuming Persian rugs that cost more than his car. The bedroom was last, with its king-sized bed and Egyptian cotton sheets that felt like silk beneath his work-worn hands. That's when the exhaustion hit him like a physical blow. Marcus had slept 3 hours the night before, working his second job as a night security guard to pay for Sophia's mounting medical expenses. His vision blurred as he straightened the already perfect bedding. His legs felt like they might give out. Just 20 minutes, he thought. Just enough to clear his head. He sat on the edge of the pristine bed, telling himself he'd rest his eyes for a moment. The mattress was impossibly comfortable, like sleeping on a cloud. His eyelids grew heavy despite every alarm bell in his professional conscience. The last thing Marcus remembered was the gentle morning sunlight streaming through those floor-to-ceiling windows. He woke up to someone shaking his shoulder violently. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Marcus's eyes snapped open to see Mr. Sterling standing over him, his face twisted with rage. Behind him stood 2 hotel security guards and the general manager, Mrs. Chen, whose expression looked like she'd witnessed a murder. The clock on the nightstand read 3:47 p.m. Marcus had slept for 8 hours in a billionaire's bed. I'm sorry, Marcus stammered, scrambling to his feet. His cleaning cart sat exactly where he'd left it, supplies scattered across the marble floor from where he'd apparently knocked them over in his exhaustion. "Sorry." Sterling's voice was ice cold. "You're sorry? Do you have any idea what you've done?" Mrs. Chen stepped forward, her voice professionally calm but deadly serious. "Marcus, you need to come with us immediately." What followed was a nightmare that unfolded in slow motion. Hotel security escorted Marcus to the management office where Mrs. Chen delivered the words that shattered his world. "Marcus, you're terminated, effective immediately. We're also pressing charges for trespassing and theft." "Theft?" Marcus's voice cracked. "I didn't steal anything." "You stole time," Sterling interrupted. 8 hours in my private suite. 8 hours of unauthorized use of a $15,000 per night room. Do the math." The math was devastating. According to hotel policy and Sterling's demand for compensation, Marcus owed $5,000 for unauthorized occupancy. Money he didn't have. Money that would destroy his family's already fragile financial situation. But the real blow came when Mrs. Chen continued, "We're also blacklisting you from the hospitality industry. Word travels fast in this business, Marcus. No hotel in the city will hire you after this." Marcus thought of Sophia, lying in her hospital bed, trusting that her father would find a way to pay for her surgery. He thought of his wife Elena, who'd been working extra shifts at the diner to help with medical bills. He thought of 18 years of spotless service record, destroyed in 8 hours of unconscious exhaustion. Sterling watched Marcus's face crumble and seemed to take satisfaction in it. "Maybe this will teach you about boundaries," he said coldly. "Some people know their place. Others need to learn it the hard way." The security guards escorted Marcus from the building like a common criminal. 18 years of walking through that employee entrance with dignity, and now he was being banned from the premises forever. The local news picked up the story 3 days later. Hotel worker fired for sleeping in billionaire's bed became a viral sensation. Marcus's face was plastered across social media, portrayed as everything from a lazy employee to a criminal trespasser. The comments were brutal. But what the news didn't report was what happened next. Dr. Sarah Williams had been following the story with growing unease. As the head of pediatric surgery at Children's Hospital, she recognized something in the news coverage that others missed. Marcus wasn't some entitled employee looking for luxury. He was a desperate father working multiple jobs to save his daughter's life. She made a few phone calls. What she learned broke her heart. Sofia Rivera, age 12, had been born with a rare heart condition. The surgery she needed cost $180,000. Insurance covered barely half. Marcus had been working 80-hour weeks for months, selling everything he owned, applying for loans that kept getting denied. The 8 hours he slept in Sterling's suite weren't about comfort or entitlement. They were about a human being pushed beyond his limits, collapsing under the weight of trying to save his child's life. Dr. Williams called the local television station that had first reported the story. "I want to tell you about the real story behind Marcus Rivera," she told the producer. "Because what happened at that hotel wasn't about a lazy employee. It was about a father fighting for his daughter's life." The follow-up story aired exactly 1 week after the original report. This time, the cameras weren't focused on the luxury suite or Sterling's outrage. They were in Sofia's hospital room, showing a 12-year-old girl whose father had sacrificed everything, including his dignity, trying to keep her alive. The interview with Marcus was heartbreaking. Sitting beside Sofia's bed, his voice barely above a whisper, he explained the mounting medical bills, the sleepless nights, the desperate search for any way to afford his daughter's surgery. "I'm not making excuses," he said, tears streaming down his weathered face. "What I did was wrong. I violated their trust. But I want people to understand, when your child is dying, you'll do anything. Work any job. Sleep anywhere. Break any rule. I just want her to live." The response was immediate and overwhelming. A GoFundMe campaign raised $50,000 in the first 24 hours. Local businesses offered Marcus job interviews. A competing hotel chain publicly offered him a management position. Messages of support poured in from around the world. But the most unexpected response came from someone nobody anticipated. James Morrison was Sterling's biggest business rival, running a software company that competed directly with Sterling's empire. Morrison had built his own fortune, but unlike Sterling, he'd never forgotten his working-class roots. His father had been a janitor. His mother cleaned office buildings. Morrison called Marcus personally. "I want to offer you a job," Morrison said. Head of facilities management for Morrison Tech, full benefits, including medical coverage that will take care of Sofia's surgery completely. Marcus couldn't speak. After a moment, Morrison continued, "I've been watching how Sterling handled this situation, and it tells me everything I need to know about his character. A man's worth isn't measured by how he treats his equals. It's measured by how he treats people who can do nothing for him." But Morrison wasn't finished. He'd been quietly investigating Sterling's business practices for months, looking for any advantage in their corporate rivalry. Marcus's story had given him an idea. "I also want to offer you something else," Morrison said. "A consulting position. You've worked in high-end hospitality for 18 years. You understand service, attention to detail, customer experience. I'm launching a new software platform for luxury hotels. I need someone who understands the industry from the ground up." The consulting fee Morrison offered was more than Marcus had made in his entire career at the Grandview Hotel. Sofia's surgery was scheduled for the following month. The night before the procedure, Marcus sat by her bedside, holding her small hand in his work-calloused fingers. "Daddy," she whispered, "are you in trouble because of me?" Marcus's throat tightened. "No, Mija. I'm not in trouble. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." And for the first time in months, he meant it. The surgery was a complete success. Sophia's recovery exceeded every expectation. 6 months later, she was playing soccer again, her laughter echoing through the house that Morrison's job had allowed them to keep. Marcus threw himself into his new role with the passion of someone given a second chance. His insights into hospitality service proved invaluable to Morrison's software development team. Hotels that implemented their platform saw customer satisfaction scores increase by 40%. A year after that devastating morning in the penthouse suite, Marcus was promoted to Vice President of Customer Experience at Morrison Tech. His annual salary was 10 times what he'd earned cleaning hotel rooms. But the real vindication came when Sterling's company began losing major hotel contracts to Morrison's superior platform. The software that Marcus had helped develop was revolutionizing the industry, and Sterling's outdated systems couldn't compete. At the annual Hospitality Technology Conference, Marcus found himself presenting Morrison Tech's latest innovations to an audience that included many of his former colleagues from the hotel industry. In the front row sat Mrs. Chen, who'd been forced to lay off staff as the Grandview Hotel struggled with declining occupancy rates. After his presentation, she approached him with tears in her eyes. "Marcus, I owe you an apology. What we did to you was wrong. You were a good employee who made one human mistake, and we destroyed your life for it." Marcus shook her hand gently. "You gave me exactly what I needed," he said. "You gave me the push to find my real purpose." The story might have ended there, a perfect tale of redemption and success. But life had one more surprise in store. 2 years after the incident, Sterling's company faced a crisis. A major software failure had left dozens of hospitals unable to access patient records. Lives were at stake, and Sterling's team couldn't fix the problem. In desperation, Sterling reached out to Morrison Tech. The only person with the specific expertise to solve the crisis was Marcus, whose deep understanding of both hospitality systems and healthcare protocols made him uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between the two industries. Marcus could have refused, could have let Sterling's arrogance cost him his empire. Instead, he worked 72 hours straight to develop a solution that saved Sterling's company and, more importantly, ensured that hospital patients received the care they needed. When Sterling called to thank him, his voice was different. Humbled. "I owe you an apology," Sterling said. "What I did to you was cruel and unnecessary. You were a father trying to save his daughter, and I destroyed your life because my pride was hurt." Marcus listened in silence as Sterling continued, "I want to make this right. I'm donating $1 million to the children's hospital where Sophia was treated. And I'm establishing a fund for working parents who can't afford their children's medical care." The Marcus Rivera Foundation launched 6 months later, funded by Sterling's donation but managed by Marcus's vision. To date, it has helped over 500 families afford critical medical care for their children. Sophia, now 15, volunteers at the foundation every weekend. She's planning to become a doctor, inspired by the people who saved her life and the father who never gave up fighting for it. Marcus still keeps his old hotel cleaning uniform in his closet. Not as a reminder of shame, but as evidence of how far he's traveled. From a man so exhausted he collapsed in a billionaire's bed to a leader whose innovations have improved millions of travelers' experiences worldwide. "People ask me if I regret that morning," Marcus says now, sitting in his executive office at Morrison Tech, looking out at a city view that rivals the one from Sterling's penthouse. "But that 20-minute nap I planned to take changed everything. It cost me a job, but it gave me a purpose. It destroyed my old life, but it built something better than I ever imagined possible." Sometimes your biggest mistake is actually your greatest breakthrough waiting to happen. Sometimes the moment that feels like the end is actually where your real story begins. And sometimes, when powerful people try to destroy you for being human, the universe has a way of lifting you higher than you ever dreamed possible. If this story reminded you that everyone is fighting battles you can't see, share it with someone who needs to remember that compassion costs nothing but can change everything. Because sometimes, The person you help today might be the one who saves your tomorrow.